Apparently, finding your husband's hands adjusting another woman's dress in your own home office isn't what marriage counselors mean by spicing things up. There I was, Thursday afternoon, October 12th, standing in the doorway of my home office in Matthews, North Carolina, the office Beckett swore he never used because the chair hurts his back, watching my husband of 7 years carefully zip up the dress of Sonia, his personal trainer. The same personal trainer I'd been paying $120 per session for 6 months because I thought I was investing in my husband's health. Turns out I was financing his affair. With my own money. From my teacher's salary. I'm Gisela Monroe, 34 years old, high school literature teacher at Providence High, married to Beckett Monroe, medical equipment sales rep, supposedly living the dream in our gated community off Highway 51. We were the couple everyone envied at neighborhood block parties. The ones who brought homemade guacamole and craft beer. The ones who hosted book club. The ones who looked perfect. Emphasis on looked. That Thursday, my professional development seminar got canceled 20 minutes after it started. Something about the presenter's flight being delayed from Atlanta. I texted Beckett I'd be home early. He read it. Didn't respond. I should have known right then something was wrong. Beckett always responded within 90 seconds. The man checked his phone more often than a teenager checks TikTok. I pulled into our driveway at 2:40 in the afternoon. His silver Camry was there. Weird. He told me that morning he had client meetings in Concord all day. I walked in through the garage, set my bag down in the kitchen, noticed 2 wine glasses in the sink. We hadn't had wine the night before. I'd graded essays until 11 while Beckett watched some documentary about World War II submarines. Then I heard it. Laughter. Female laughter. Coming from my office. My office that Beckett never used because the chair kills my lower back and the desk is too high. I walked down the hallway. Door slightly open. And there they were, framed like a scene from a bad Lifetime movie. Beckett, in the navy polo I'd bought him for his birthday, standing behind Sonia, hands on her waist, carefully pulling up the zipper of a tight black dress. She was laughing, saying something about how, this thing is impossible to get into alone. He was concentrating so hard on that zipper you'd think he was defusing a bomb. I stood there for 5 seconds, just watching, letting it sink in. Then I pulled out my phone, opened the camera, hit record, and said nice and loud, "Don't stop on my account. I want to get this on video for Sunday dinner at your parents' house in Weddington. Your sister Ingrid is going to absolutely love this." Beckett's head snapped up so fast I'm surprised he didn't get whiplash. His face went white, not pink, not red, white, like he'd seen a ghost. Sonia froze mid-laugh, hands clutching the dress fabric, mouth forming a perfect O of shock. I filmed for exactly 15 seconds. Got it all. The panic in his eyes. Her scrambling to pull the dress up higher. Him stammering, "Gisela, this isn't," while his hands were still on her waist. Then I smiled. Calmly. The way I smile when a student tries to tell me their essay is late because their grandmother died for the 3rd time that semester. "I'll let you two finish getting dressed. We'll talk about this Sunday at your parents' house. The whole family will be there. Should be fun." I walked to our bedroom, locked the door, and sat on the bed. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness. From rage. Pure, crystallized rage. I'd been paying this woman $7,200 over 6 months. I'd written the checks. I'd encouraged Beckett to invest in his health when he said he wanted a personal trainer. I'd packed his gym bag. I'd asked how his sessions were going. And he'd been screwing her. In my house. In my office. On a Thursday afternoon when I was supposed to be at professional development learning about innovative assessment strategies in secondary education, Beckett started pounding on the bedroom door about 3 minutes later. "Gisela, please, let me explain. It's not what it looked like. The zipper was stuck and she asked for help and I texted him instead of answering. Not interested in talking right now. We'll discuss this Sunday with your family. Until then, act normal." He lost his mind. 47 text messages in 2 hours. I counted. Each one more desperate than the last. "Please don't tell my parents. I'll do anything. It was a stupid mistake. We can work through this. I love you." I responded to exactly one. "See you Sunday." Here's what Beckett didn't understand about me after 7 years of marriage. I'm a high school English teacher. I deal with teenagers who lie, cheat, plagiarize, and think they're smarter than me every single day. I've developed a 6th sense for deception and a PhD-level skill set in gathering evidence. You don't survive 10 years teaching without learning how to document everything, verify every claim, and never, ever show your cards until you've built an airtight case. So while Beckett spent Thursday night alternating between panic attacks and attempting to sweet-talk me, I was in the bedroom with my laptop, methodically going through our joint bank accounts, credit card statements, and this is the beautiful part. The iCloud backup of his phone that he didn't know was syncing to my computer. Deleted text messages? Recovered. Can't wait for our next private session. You're incredible, that thing you did last Tuesday. My wife thinks I'm at a client dinner right now. 43 messages to Sonia over 6 months. Timestamps matching days he told me he was working late or meeting clients. Venmo transactions? Found them. Extra training session, $400. Special workout plan, $350. Nutrition consulting, $500. Total transferred to Sonia Peterson over 6 months, $4,700. From our joint checking account. Money I'd earned grading essays and teaching summer school. Credit card statements? Oh, those were fun. 12 charges at the Motel 6 on Independence Boulevard. Always on Thursday afternoons. Always during what Beckett called his territory visits to South Charlotte. 12 times in 6 months he'd taken her to a motel that charges by the hour and has a broken neon sign that flickers MTEL 6. I saved everything. Screenshots, PDF exports. Downloaded the bank statements. Created a folder on my desktop labeled Beckett's Masterclass in Stupidity. Friday morning I made coffee like normal. Beckett came into the kitchen looking like he hadn't slept. He probably hadn't. I poured him a cup, added the cream and sugar exactly how he likes it and said, "Big plans for work today?" He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Just some follow-ups with clients in Huntersville. Are we okay? I smiled. Sipped my coffee. We'll talk Sunday. Have a good day. He left for work completely confused. That's when I started building the presentation. You know those PowerPoint presentations teachers make for parent-teacher conferences? Detailed, organized, evidence-based, impossible to argue with? I made one of those. Except this one was titled 7 Years of Marriage, a case study in betrayal, financed by the wife. 52 slides. Title slide with our wedding photo. Ironic opener. Then a timeline. March 15th, first Venmo payment to Sonia Peterson. March 22nd, first deleted text message. April 6th, first motel receipt. And on and on and on. Every transaction highlighted in yellow. Every deleted message with timestamp. Every lie cross-referenced with his actual location based on credit card charges. I made graphs. A bar chart showing frequency of training sessions versus actual gym visits logged in his fitness app. A pie chart breaking down where our joint money went. 42% bills, 28% groceries, 18% savings, 8% on his affair, 4% entertainment. I found photos. Sonia's Instagram had pictures from inside our house. My house. My throw pillows visible in the background. My framed prints on the wall. She'd been in our home multiple times. Posted photos with captions like, "Love training clients in their space," and "home workout vibes." I posted in April and June and September. I mapped the motel locations on Google Maps. Created a route showing his territory visits that somehow always ended at the same motel near the airport. Added a slide titled, Geography of Deception. How territory management works in medical sales versus how it actually worked for Beckett. Slide 48. A simple question. What does $4,700 buy? Then a list. 6 months of groceries. A used car. 3 mortgage payments. Or 40 sessions with a personal trainer who provides additional services not listed on her website. Slide 49. His text from our anniversary in August. "You're my everything, Gisela. Couldn't imagine life without you." Screenshot. Next to it, his text to Sonia the same day. "Can't stop thinking about you. Wish I was with you instead." I worked on that presentation for 8 hours Friday. Then all day Saturday while Beckett nervously tried to act normal. He even made his famous chilly Saturday night. Offered to watch a movie. Kept asking if I was feeling okay because I was being so quiet. I wasn't quiet. I was calculating, planning, building an airtight case that would detonate his entire life in front of the people whose opinions he cared about most. His family. Sunday morning, October 15th. Beckett put on his blue button-down, the one his mother loves, and his good jeans. Sprayed on the cologne I bought him for Christmas. Smiled at me in the bathroom mirror while he combed his hair. "Ready for dinner at Mom and Dad's?" I smiled back. "Absolutely ready." The drive to Weddington was 43 minutes of pure psychological warfare disguised as normal Sunday conversation. Beckett kept glancing at me while driving his Camry down Highway 16. Every 30 seconds. Like he was waiting for me to explode or cry or something. I spent the entire drive scrolling through Pinterest looking at kitchen backsplash ideas. Completely calm. Humming along to the radio when September by Earth, Wind and Fire came on. You seem really relaxed, he said around the Monroe exit, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I am relaxed, I replied, not looking up from a gorgeous subway tile design. Why wouldn't I be? Because of Thursday. Because of what you saw. Because we'll talk about it at your parents' house, like I said. No point discussing it twice. I smiled at him. Sweet. The way you smile at a student who's about to fail the final exam, but doesn't know it yet. He actually looked relieved. The idiot thought I'd softened. That maybe the last 3 days of me acting normal meant I'd somehow decided to forgive and forget. That making his special chili and watching Netflix beside him meant everything was fine. Men really do overestimate their charm. His parents live in one of those newer subdivisions in Weddington where every house looks vaguely colonial, and everyone has a 2-car garage and professionally landscaped yards. His father, Marshall Monroe, 62, retired accountant and deacon at First Baptist Church. His mother, Clarice Monroe, 59, leads the women's ministry and organizes the church bake sales. Both of them are the kind of traditional Southern Baptists who still believe marriage is sacred, and adultery is one step below murder on the sin hierarchy. This was going to be delicious. We pulled into the driveway at 1:15. Beckett's sister Ingrid was already there with her husband Barrett and their 2 kids. His other sister Maeve pulled up right behind us with her husband Calvin. His Aunt Lorraine's Buick was parked on the street. Uncle Vernon's truck was in the driveway. 14 people total for Sunday pot roast dinner. Perfect audience size. Clarice greeted us at the door with hugs and that church lady perfume that smells like floral arrangements and piety. Gisela, Beckett, come in. Dinner's almost ready. Marshall just took the roast out. The house smelled like rosemary and beef and those Sister Schubert rolls Clarice buys from Harris Teeter and pretends she made from scratch. Everyone was gathering in the living room. The big one with the sectional sofa and the 65-inch TV Marshall bought last year during a Black Friday sale at Best Buy. Beckett sat on the sofa looking progressively more nervous, kept checking his phone, shifting his weight. His sister Ingrid, 37, pharmaceutical sales rep, and the sibling who'd never particularly liked Beckett, watched him with narrowed eyes. She's always had a sixth sense for his nonsense. When we got engaged, she pulled me aside at the engagement party and said, "He's my brother, and I love him, but watch him. He's got that thing where he thinks rules don't apply to him." I should have listened. I chatted with Maeve about her new job at the bank in Ballantyne, complimented Aunt Lorraine's earrings, asked Uncle Vernon about his vegetable garden, all while my laptop sat innocently in my bag. Clarice called everyone to the table at 1:45. We did the whole production, holding hands, Marshall saying grace, thanking the Lord for family and fellowship and food. Beckett squeezed my hand during the prayer. I squeezed back. He had no idea he was praying at his own funeral. Dinner was pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, those fake homemade rolls, and sweet tea so sugary it could have doubled as dessert. Everyone talked about normal things. Maeve's daughter's soccer tournament, Ingrid's son's upcoming 8th grade graduation, Uncle Vernon's tomato crop getting destroyed by hornworms, Marshall's golf game improving since retirement. Beckett barely ate, pushed his pot roast around his plate. Clarice noticed. "Honey, are you feeling okay? You love my pot roast. Just not super hungry, Mom. Big lunch?" He forced a smile. I ate 2 helpings, complimented everything. Asked for the recipe for the green beans, even though I knew she just used frozen ones with bacon bits. Perfect guest. After dinner, we moved back to the living room for coffee and Clarice's famous pecan pie. That's when I made my move. Actually, before dessert, I wanted to show everyone something on the TV. We took some great pictures during our trip to Myrtle Beach last month and I made a little slideshow. Clarice's face lit up. "Oh, how wonderful. Marshall, pull up the HDMI thing so she can connect her computer." Beckett's face went gray. Not white like Thursday. Gray. The color of concrete. "Gisela, maybe we should do this another time." "Nonsense," Marshall said, already fiddling with the TV remote. "We love seeing pictures. You two looked so happy in those beach photos you posted on Facebook." I pulled my laptop from my bag, connected the HDMI cable. The TV screen flickered to life, showing my desktop. I opened the presentation file. Beckett stood up. "Gisela, seriously, we don't need to—" "Sit down, Beckett," Ingrid said sharply. Something in my face must have told her this wasn't about beach photos. "Let your wife show us what she wants to show us." He sat, slowly, like a man walking to the electric chair. I clicked to the first slide. Full screen. Not our wedding photo like I'd planned originally. I'd changed it Saturday night to something more impactful. The video. 15 seconds. Beckett's hands on Sonia's waist. The black dress. Her laughing. Him concentrating on that zipper. Both of them freezing when they see me. Crystal clear. Perfect lighting. Beautiful audio quality. The room went silent. The kind of silent that happens when someone drops a casserole at church potluck. Shocked. Complete. Clarice gasped. Actually gasped. Hand to her chest, mouth open. Marshall's face turned red. The scary kind of red. Angry deacon red. Ingrid started laughing. Couldn't help it. A sharp, vindicated, I knew it, kind of laugh. Maeve whispered, "Oh my God," 3 times fast. Uncle Vernon said, "Well, hell's bells." And Aunt Lorraine smacked his arm for cursing but didn't take her eyes off the screen. The kids, 4 of them ranging from 7 to 13, looked confused. Barrett, Ingrid's husband, quietly herded them into the kitchen. "Let's get more sweet tea, guys." Beckett tried to stand again. "Mom, Dad, this isn't—" "Sit down," Marshall said. His voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. Deacon voice. The voice that commanded respect at church board meetings. "You're going to sit there and watch whatever your wife has to show us." I clicked to the next slide. Title card. 7 years of marriage, a case study in betrayal, financed by the wife. Click. Timeline. March 15th through October 12th. Every Venmo payment highlighted in yellow. $4,700. To Sonia Peterson. Personal trainer. Click. Text messages. Deleted ones I'd recovered. "Can't wait for our next private session. You're incredible. My wife thinks I'm at a client dinner." Timestamps. Dates. All of them on days he'd told me he was working late. Clarice stood up. Started to leave the room. Maeve caught her arm. "Mom, you need to see this." "I don't want to see—" "You need to see what your son did," Ingrid interrupted, her voice sharp as glass. Click, click, click. Motel receipts. 12 of them. Motel 6 on Independence Boulevard. Always Thursday afternoons. Always charged to our joint credit card. Our joint credit card that my teacher's salary helped fund. Marshall's face had progressed from red to purple. The vein in his forehead was pulsing. I briefly worried he might have a stroke, but honestly, he'd probably be fine. Man did cardio 3 times a week at the YMCA. Click, bar graphs, pie charts. My personal favorite, a Venn diagram showing the overlap between times Beckett said he was working late and times Beckett was actually at a motel. Perfect circle. 100% overlap. Click. Instagram photos from Sonia's account. Inside our house. My throw pillows. My artwork. My home. With captions about home training and client spaces. Dates spanning 6 months. Clarice was crying now. Silent tears running down her face, messing up her church makeup. Maeve looked furious. Barrett had returned from the kitchen and stood with his arms crossed, blocking the doorway like Beckett might make a run for it. Uncle Vernon muttered, "That boy's dumber than a box of rocks." And this time Aunt Lorraine didn't correct him. Click. Side-by-side texts. Left side. Beckett's anniversary text to me in August. "You're my everything, Gisela. Couldn't imagine life without you." Right side. Beckett's text to Sonia the same day. "Can't stop thinking about you. Wish I was with you instead." Ingrid's laugh had turned into something darker. Not amused anymore. Disgusted. I went through all 52 slides. Every single one. When Beckett tried to unplug the laptop around slide 35, Barrett physically restrained him. "You're going to sit there and face what you did." Final slide. Simple, clean. Questions? With my email address underneath. I closed the laptop, disconnected it, put it back in my bag. The room was silent except for Clarice's quiet crying, and Uncle Vernon whispering to Aunt Lorraine about how I always said that boy had too much of his Uncle Eddie in him, and Eddie ran off with a waitress in 1987. Marshall stood up, walked over to Beckett. For a second I thought he might hit him. Instead, he said, voice shaking with rage, "Get out of my house. Dad, get out. Now. I don't want to look at you right now." Clarice left the room, went upstairs. I heard a door slam. Beckett looked at me, eyes desperate. "Gisela, I'm staying," I said calmly. "I'll get a ride home. You should leave." He left, grabbed his keys, walked out the front door. We heard his Camry start, drive away. The room stayed silent for a solid minute. Then Marshall turned to me. "Do you have copies of all that?" "Yes, sir. I want them. All of them. I'm going to make sure you get everything you're entitled to in the divorce. That boy," his voice cracked. "I thought we raised him better than this." Ingrid came over, hugged me. "I'm so sorry. I suspected he was being shady, but I didn't think—" She shook her head. "Do you have a lawyer yet?" "Calling one tomorrow morning." "Good. Take him for everything." Barrett drove me home that Sunday evening in his Ford F-150. Ingrid riding shotgun, both of them taking turns calling Beckett creative names I won't repeat here because YouTube has policies and I have standards. I never liked him, Ingrid said for the fourth time. Even when we were kids, he cheated at Monopoly. If someone cheats at Monopoly at age 9, they'll cheat at marriage at 34. It's science. That's not science, Barrett said. It's Ingrid science, which has a better track record than actual science in this family. They dropped me off at 8:30. The house was dark. Beckett's Camry wasn't in the driveway. Good. I went inside, locked every door, changed into sweatpants, made chamomile tea, and sat down with my laptop. Monday morning, October 16th, I called 3 divorce attorneys before homeroom. The first one was booked solid for 6 weeks. The second one had a partner who'd gone to high school with Beckett and cited conflict of interest. The third one, Patricia Whitmore, 51, senior partner at Whitmore & Associates in downtown Charlotte, answered on the second ring and said the magic words, "I can see you during your lunch break today. 11:30 work?" It worked. I taught first period American literature like normal. We were covering The Crucible, which felt oddly appropriate given that I was about to put Beckett on trial for his sins. Second period was planning. I drove to Charlotte, met Patricia in her office on Tryon Street in one of those glass buildings that screams, "We win cases and charge accordingly." Patricia was exactly what I needed. Sharp gray suit, sharper mind, and the kind of smile that said she'd dismantled bigger idiots than Beckett before breakfast. I showed her everything. The presentation, the bank statements, the recovered texts, the motel receipts. She took notes on a yellow legal pad with a fountain pen. Actual fountain pen. Power move. "North Carolina is interesting," she said after I finished. "We're one of the few states that still recognizes fault-based divorce. Adultery is grounds. And when adultery is proven with this level of documentation," she tapped my printed bank statements, "judges tend to be very generous to the innocent spouse regarding asset distribution." "How generous?" "You'll get the house, the cars, probably 60 to 70% of all marital assets. He'll pay your attorney fees. And," she leaned back in her chair, that sharp smile widening, "North Carolina still allows something called alienation of affection lawsuits. You can sue the third party for damages. Sue Sonia? Sue Sonia. It's a civil tort. You prove she knowingly engaged in an affair that destroyed your marriage, and you can collect damages. Monetary damages." I sat back. Let that sink in. "How much are we talking?" "Depends on the defendant's assets and the jury. I've seen settlements ranging from $20,000 to $200,000, but here's the beautiful part." Patricia pulled up something on her computer. "Sonia Peterson, personal trainer, drives a Honda CR-V, rents a townhouse in Ballantyne, has about $45,000 in a checking account based on public records from a lawsuit 2 years ago when a client injured themselves. Not wealthy, but not broke. How did you find that so fast?" "I have a very efficient paralegal. Now, here's what's really interesting." She turned her monitor so I could see. Sonia Peterson is married to Reed Peterson, attorney, specializes in, wait for it, divorce law. They've been married for 3 years. I started laughing. Couldn't help it. The irony was too perfect. "It gets better," Patricia continued. "Reed Peterson has a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in divorce proceedings. If he finds out his wife was having an affair, he's going to destroy her financially and socially. And," another smile, "he can also sue your husband for alienation of affection." Wait, he can sue Beckett? Absolutely. Same law works both ways. Reed can sue Beckett for stealing his wife's affections. This could get very expensive for everyone involved except you and Reed. I left Patricia's office at 12:45 with a retainer agreement signed, a check for $5,000 written from my personal checking account that Beckett didn't have access to, and a plan that was starting to look less like divorce and more like strategic warfare. That afternoon, I taught third and fourth period with a smile that probably confused my students. During fifth period planning, I got a text from an unknown number. "Ms. Monroe, this is Reed Peterson. Patricia Whitmore gave me your number, said we should talk. Coffee tomorrow." I stared at that text for a solid minute. Then I replied, "Starbucks on Providence Road, 4 o'clock. Tuesday, October 17th. I met Reed at Starbucks right after school let out. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a venti black coffee and the kind of expression that suggested he'd spent the last 24 hours oscillating between rage and legal strategy. Reed Peterson, 41, looked exactly like a divorce attorney who'd just found out his wife was cheating. Tired eyes. Expensive suit slightly wrinkled. The desperate energy of someone who solves other people's marriage disasters for a living and just discovered his own was a disaster. I found out Saturday night, he said, after we shook hands, and I sat down with my latte. Sonia came home from training a client at 2 in the afternoon. I asked whose house. She said yours. I asked why she was training someone on a Saturday. She got defensive. I checked her phone after she fell asleep. He pulled out his own folder. Thinner than mine, but equally damning. Found everything. The texts, the plans. Her calendar had your husband's sessions marked as BM private, like that was subtle. BM private, I repeated. Beckett Monroe private. Wow, she's not even creative with her affair coding. No, she's not. Reed sipped his coffee, grimaced. Patricia told me about your presentation on Sunday. Said it was the most thorough documentation of infidelity she's seen in 15 years of practice. I'm a teacher. Documentation is what we do. If I can track which student plagiarized from which website, I can track my cheating husband. Reed almost smiled. Here's what I'm thinking. We have a unique opportunity here. North Carolina's alienation of affection law means I can sue your husband. You can sue my wife. We both have airtight evidence. We both have the same goal. Make them regret every single decision that led to this. I'm listening. I file suit against Beckett for $150,000 in damages. You file suit against Sonia for the same amount. We share evidence. We share legal costs where it makes sense. We make this so expensive and so public that they both think twice before ever trying this again with anyone else. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Deal. We shook hands. Started planning. Over the next 2 weeks, Reed and I met 4 more times. Starbucks on Providence Road became our war room. We compiled evidence, cross-referenced timelines. I showed him the motel receipts. He showed me Sonia's credit card statements showing dinners at restaurants in South Park. On nights she'd told him she was visiting her mother in Gastonia. She told me she was helping her mom with the grandkids, Reed said during our 3rd meeting, his laugh bitter. 12 Thursday evenings. Her 2 kids from her first marriage are 9 and 12 now. Her mom watches them on Thursdays when Sonia supposedly had late client sessions. I'd call to check on the kids, and her mom would say everything was fine, they were having dinner. Sonia would pick them up at 8. Meanwhile, Sonia was at a motel off Independence Boulevard. Beckett told me he was visiting medical facilities in Concord and Huntersville. I mapped every hospital and clinic in those areas. Not a single one had him in their vendor logs for any of those dates. They weren't even good at lying, Reed said. No, they really weren't. We filed the lawsuits on November 2nd, both on the same day. Reed sued Beckett Monroe for alienation of affection, loss of consortium, and emotional distress. $150,000 in damages. I sued Sonia Peterson for the same amount, same courthouse, Mecklenburg County. The process server delivered both lawsuits on November 5th. I was at school teaching 6th period when my phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Both delivered, Beckett at his work, Sonia at her apartment. Let the games begin. Beckett called me 17 times that evening. I didn't answer. Finally, he showed up at the house, our house, which I'd already changed the locks on per Patricia's advice, and knocked on the door at 8:45. I opened the door with the chain lock still engaged. What? Gisela, this is insane. Some guy sued me for $150,000 for... He looked at the papers in his hand like they were written in ancient Greek. Alienation of affection? What even is that? It's an old North Carolina law. Means Reed Peterson, Sonia's husband, can sue you for destroying his marriage. And yes, it's real. And yes, you're going to lose. I can't pay $150,000. Should have thought about that before you paid Sonia $4,700 of our money to sleep with you in cheap motels. This is vindictive. This is legal. Very legal. Patricia assures me it's completely, totally, 100% legal. Now get off my porch before I call the cops for trespassing. You don't live here anymore. I closed the door, locked it, went back to grading essays about symbolism in The Great Gatsby, while Beckett stood on the porch making phone calls, probably to his parents, probably to Sonia, probably to every attorney in Charlotte who would tell him the same thing Patricia told me. He was screwed. 2 days later, Sonia showed up at Providence High at 3:15 right as students were leaving. Walked right into my classroom. I was erasing the whiteboard, my back to the door. You destroyed my life, she said. I turned around. Sonia looked rough, no makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, the kind of rough that comes from crying for 48 hours straight and realizing your entire existence just imploded. No, I said calmly, setting down the eraser. You destroyed your own life when you decided sleeping with my husband was a good business decision. I just documented it. There's a difference. Reed's taking everything. The house, the car, our savings. And now you're suing me for money I don't even have. Then you'll make payments, or file bankruptcy, or get a second job. I don't really care how you solve it, Sonia. That's your problem. You wanted to play in the adult world of affairs and deception. Welcome to the adult world of consequences. She left crying. 2 students who'd been lingering in the hallway watched her go, then looked at me with newfound respect. One of them, a junior named Tyler, said, "Ms. Monroe, you're kind of scary." "Good," I replied. "Remember that when you're tempted to plagiarize your final essay." The lawsuits moved faster than I expected. Turns out when you have airtight documentation and the other side has nothing but excuses, the legal system suddenly becomes efficient. Beckett's attorney, some guy named Gerald from a strip mall office in Pineville who advertised on bus benches, tried to argue that alienation of affection was an outdated law that shouldn't apply in modern times. Judge Patricia Morrison, 63, Mecklenburg County Superior Court, looked at him over her reading glasses during the preliminary hearing in late November and said, "Counselor, if you want to change North Carolina law, run for legislature. In my courtroom, we follow the law as written. And as written, your client is liable." Gerald had no response to that. Reed's case against Beckett went to mediation first, early December. I wasn't there, but Reed texted me updates throughout the day like we were watching a sports game. Beckett showed up 20 minutes late. His attorney looks like he passed the bar exam last week. They're offering $15,000. I countered with $130. Beckett just asked for a bathroom break. Been gone 12 minutes. Pretty sure he's crying. Settlement at $85,000. Payments over 5 years. $1,400 a month for 60 months. Signed. $85,000. Reed got $85,000 from Beckett for destroying his marriage. I responded, "Congratulations. Drinks on you when mine settles." My case against Sonia was messier. She didn't have $85,000. Didn't have anything close. Her attorney, a woman named Donna from Charlotte who clearly took the case out of pity, tried every angle. Ms. Peterson has 2 children from a previous marriage, ages 9 and 12, who live with her. She's already losing everything in her divorce from Mr. Peterson. For exactly 3 seconds, I felt bad. Then I remembered her in my office, in my house, laughing while my husband zipped up her dress, and the sympathy evaporated like morning fog on Highway 51. Patricia, bless her ruthless heart, didn't blink. Ms. Peterson should have considered her children before engaging in an affair with a married man. Her financial situation is the direct result of her choices. My client is entitled to damages. We settled at $45,000. Every dollar Sonia had in her checking account plus a payment plan for the remaining amount over 3 years. Her attorney looked defeated. Sonia looked like she'd aged 10 years in 6 weeks. She had to sell the Honda CR-V to make the first payment. Started driving a 2008 Toyota Corolla with a dented bumper and 140,000 miles that her mother gave her. But the real satisfaction wasn't the money. It was watching everything else fall apart for both of them. The news spread through Matthews and Weddington faster than a grease fire at a church fish fry. First Baptist Church has 247 members. By mid-November, all 247 knew exactly what Beckett had done. The men's ministry suggested he step back from leadership. The annual father-son retreat in January? Beckett wasn't invited. His parents stopped taking his calls for 3 weeks. When Clarice finally agreed to meet him for coffee at Panera in December, she brought Ingrid as a buffer and cried through the entire conversation. Marshall, the deacon who'd served the church for 30 years, had to endure whispered conversations and pitying looks every Sunday. He told me later, we'd started having monthly lunches after the divorce, just the 2 of us, because he considered me more family than his son at that point. That the hardest part wasn't the gossip. It was the disappointment. "I raised him better than that," Marshall said over chicken salad at Harper's. "I thought I raised him better than that." Beckett lost his job in January. Medical Solutions, Inc., the company he'd worked for since we got married, terminated him. Not officially because of the affair. That would be legally problematic. Officially, it was restructuring. But his boss, a devout Catholic named Vincent who'd been to our house for dinner twice, pulled him aside and said, "The company can't have a sales representative whose personal ethics are questionable. It reflects poorly on us with Christian hospital administrators." Translation: "You're a liability and we don't want you representing us." He got a new job 3 weeks later. Assistant manager at Lowe's in Pineville, $21 an hour. Benefits after 90 days. A far cry from the $70,000 a year salary plus commission he'd been making in medical sales. Beckett stopped making his car payments in January. The Camry was technically marital property, but the loan was in his name only, something Patricia discovered during discovery that worked beautifully in my favor. She fast-tracked our divorce proceedings specifically so we could finalize before the bank repossessed the vehicle. We beat them by 11 days. The divorce was finalized March 21st. The repossession notice was dated April 1st. By then, the Camry was legally mine as part of the settlement, and I'd already sold it for $9,000 to a guy from Gastonia, who paid cash and didn't ask questions. Beckett ended up taking the city bus to work. I drove past him at a bus stop on Highway 51 one Tuesday morning in late April, wearing his Lowe's vest, waiting in the rain. I didn't stop, just waved. He pretended not to see me. Sonia had it worse. Word spread through the personal training community in Charlotte that she'd been sleeping with a client. Professional ethics violation. The gym she'd been affiliated with, a nice place in Ballantyne called Momentum Fitness, terminated her contract. She lost 80% of her client base within a month. The ones who stayed were either oblivious to the scandal or liked drama more than they cared about optics. She ended up teaching Zumba classes at a budget gym in Gastonia, 30 minutes west of Charlotte, making $13 an hour. Her Instagram, which used to have carefully curated photos of her training sessions and motivational quotes, went silent for 4 months. When she finally posted again in March, it was a generic photo of a sunset with a caption about new beginnings that got 43 likes. She used to average 300. Reed and I became actual friends through all of this. The coffee meetings at Starbucks continued even after the lawsuit settled. He was good company. Sarcastic sense of humor. We'd compare notes on how Beckett and Sonia were handling their respective downfalls. Sonia asked if we could do couples counseling. He told me during a March coffee meeting, his tone incredulous. After everything. After I sued her affair partner for $85,000 and took the house in the divorce. She asked if we could try counseling. What did you say? I said I'd rather get counseling with a rattlesnake. At least the rattlesnake would be honest about wanting to bite me. I snorted my latte. That's actually poetic. I'm a divorce attorney. Poetry is all I have left. My divorce from Beckett finalized in late March, 7 months from discovery to done. Patricia was a magician. I got the house, all of it, appraised at $340,000 and completely paid off. Got 65% of all marital assets because adultery plus documentation equals judicial generosity. Got half his 401k, roughly $73,000. And Beckett had to pay $18,000 in attorney fees, mine and his, because the judge ruled he'd dissipated marital assets by spending $4,700 on his affair. Everything Beckett owned that had value? Gone. The fishing boat he loved? Sold. The jet ski we'd bought for lake trips? Sold. His collection of Titleist golf clubs that he'd spent 3 years assembling? Sold. The Omega watch his father gave him when he closed his first major sale? Sold to a pawn shop on Central Avenue for $800 just to cover legal fees. Marshall cried when he found out about the watch. Not because of the money. Because it represented something. Hope. Pride. A father believing his son would do great things. Beckett pawned it to pay attorneys to defend his infidelity. I saw Beckett once more after the divorce finalized. June afternoon. Harris Teeter on Rhea Road. I was buying groceries for a trip to Hilton Head with some teacher friends. He was in the checkout line ahead of me, buying generic brand mac and cheese and store-brand beer. Didn't notice me until I was right behind him. He looked tired. Older. The kind of tired that comes from realizing you destroyed your entire life for someone who wasn't worth it. Hey, he said quietly. Hey, I replied. Awkward silence. The cashier scanned his items. $12.37. You doing okay? He asked. I looked at my cart. Fresh salmon, expensive wine, name brand everything. Looked at his cart. Generic poverty. I'm doing great, actually. Leaving for the beach tomorrow. You? Managing? He paid cash. Exact change. I'm glad you're doing well. He wasn't. But he said it anyway. Then he left. I paid for my groceries, loaded my Audi Q5, used 2019, purchased with settlement money from Sonia, and drove home to my house in Matthews. My house. My name on the deed, my rules, my peace. That evening, Ingrid called. Mom wants to know if you're coming to the 4th of July cookout. Your mom wants me there? Mom considers you more family than Beckett at this point. She said, and I quote, Gisela can come. Beckett can stay home. I went to the cookout, sat between Marshall and Ingrid, ate potato salad and ribs, watched the fireworks from their backyard. Clarice hugged me when I left and said, You were always too good for him. She wasn't wrong. It's been 14 months since I walked into my home office and found my husband auditioning for the role of world's dumbest cheater with his hands on someone else's zipper. 14 months since I stood in my in-laws' living room and watched a family implode in real time via PowerPoint presentation. 14 months since I learned that North Carolina law, bless its antiquated heart, still lets you sue someone for stealing your spouse like they're a borrowed lawnmower that never got returned. People ask me if I'm angry, if I still think about it, if I have regrets. The answer is no, occasionally, and absolutely not, in that order. I'm not angry anymore because anger requires energy, and I've redirected all that energy into things that actually matter. My teaching, my house, my life. Anger is what you feel when you're powerless. I stopped being powerless the moment I hit record on my phone and started documenting everything. Do I think about it? Sometimes. Usually when something ridiculous reminds me. Like when I'm at Target and see someone buying the same cheap cologne Beckett used to wear, and I think, some poor woman is going to smell that and trust the wrong person. Or when I'm at Starbucks and see Reed across the room having coffee with Simone, and I remember that we built a friendship on the smoking ruins of our respective disasters. Regrets? Not a single one. Not the presentation. Not the lawsuits. Not taking every single thing I was legally entitled to in the divorce. You don't regret removing a tumor just because the surgery left a scar. I still live in Matthews. Same house. Different energy. I repainted the office where I caught them. Went from boring beige to a deep navy blue that feels like possibility. Put in new bookshelves. That room is mine now. My space. My sanctuary. No ghosts. No bad memories. Just a comfortable chair, good lighting, and a place to grade essays while drinking wine that I don't have to share with someone who doesn't deserve it. The Audi Q5 runs beautifully. 73,000 miles when I bought it. Now at 86,000. It's practical, reliable, and most importantly, it's mine. No joint loans, no shared insurance. Just me, my car, and whatever destination sounds interesting on a Saturday morning. I took up painting last spring. Watercolors. I'm terrible at it. My landscapes look like abstract interpretations of landscapes, but I don't care. It's meditative. Every brush stroke is something I control. Every color choice is mine. No compromises, no negotiations. Just me and the canvas and the freedom to create something without asking permission. My students know the story. Not from me. I'd never discuss personal business in the classroom. But Matthews is small, and teenagers have parents who talk. I became something of a legend. Ms. Monroe doesn't play is apparently how they describe me now. My classroom management improved dramatically. Turns out when students know you publicly destroyed your cheating husband with a PowerPoint presentation, they think twice before trying to sweet-talk their way out of a late assignment. 3 teachers at Providence High came to me privately after my divorce finalized. All 3 suspected their husbands of infidelity. I walked them through documentation, how to recover deleted texts, how to track credit card statements, how to build evidence quietly while maintaining normalcy. One discovered her husband was gambling their savings at the casino in Cherokee. One discovered her husband was having an emotional affair with a coworker but nothing physical. They worked it out in counseling. One discovered her paranoia was just paranoia. Her husband was actually working late, not cheating. I didn't charge them anything. Call it pro bono consulting. Call it women helping women. Call it passing along hard-earned knowledge. Beckett. Last I heard from Ingrid, who still updates me monthly because we're family now in a way that transcends her brother's catastrophic life choices, he's still at Lowe's, still in that apartment in Pineville, still driving the Nissan Sentra his mother gave him, still making payments to Reed. He'll be making those payments until November of next year. Every month he writes that check, he remembers what it cost him. Sonia moved to Gastonia permanently. Lives with her mother and her 2 kids in a rental house near the old textile mills. Still teaches Zumba. Still drives that dented Corolla. Still makes payments to me. She'll finish paying in December of next year. I use the money for vacations. Hilton Head, Charleston, Asheville. Every trip funded partially by someone who thought sleeping with my husband was a smart financial decision. Reed married Simone in October. Small ceremony at a winery in the North Carolina foothills. He invited me. I went. Gave them a set of wine glasses and a card that said, "Here's to better choices and honest people." Simone laughed. Reed teared up a little. We're all healing in our own ways. Marshall and I have lunch once a month. Clarice texts me pictures of her garden. Ingrid and I get drinks every few weeks. Maeve sends me birthday cards. I'm closer to Beckett's family now than he is. That's what happens when you betray everyone who loved you. They find someone more worthy of that love. I'm not dating. Not because I'm damaged or bitter or afraid. I'm just content. Genuinely content. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I'm not performing for anyone. Not trying to be the perfect wife, not managing someone else's ego, not pretending to care about submarine documentaries or NFL statistics or any of the thousand small compromises that marriage demanded. I'm just me, teaching, painting badly, reading novels, traveling, existing peacefully in a house that's mine, and a life that's mine and a future that's entirely beautifully mine. Someone asked me recently if I believe in karma. I said I believe in consequences. Karma implies some cosmic justice system. Consequences are simpler. You make choices. Those choices have results. Beckett and Sonia chose to betray their spouses. The result was financial ruin, social exile, and permanent damage to their reputations. I chose to document everything and fight back strategically. The result was freedom, stability, and peace. Not karma, just consequences. And I'm living with mine quite happily.